All right.
It likes me, Martha.
Well, you just have the magic.
My magic finger.
Can I get this one?
Yes. If
I get to hire an assistant, you're it.
So that's the problem with it liking you.
Yeah, right.
Thank you very much. I've got one.
Have the normal fingers.
Just so you know, George Kripta is not available to talk today. I did ask him if he would be available
I'm
by
good.
phone. He was not.
You got one?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Yes, I am.
Mary?
Okay,
Why is my
it's noon, let's call the meeting to order.
Okay. Do you want to do approval of minutes from March 9th?
Approval of the corrected, right?
And I have another correction. I am not listed as present, so I was present, so
We remember you.
you can, it lists me in the minutes talking, but whoops. Thank you.
Any other notes on that?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as noted.
I second.
Discussion?
Okay, no discussion, all in favor?
Aye. I'll abstain.
Opposed?
I'll abstain. So I would just like to make a motion to add, under new business, I just have one quick presentation I would just like to run by you quickly, like less than 5 minutes, for the town meeting for funding.
I'll second that motion to amend the agenda.
Just as a comment, I have the hard stop myself at 12:30 today because I have a conflict. So if you want my input, maybe we can do this sooner rather than later.
And we also have to let Cheryl and her scissors leave.
What?
I said we have to also let you and your scissors leave pretty soon.
Oh, no, that's tomorrow. Thank
So can we move that up to
Can we just do it under
number 3?
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah, right now.
Okay.
All
We
in
need
favor?
to, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, as you know, there are 3 things under ARPA that are coming up under the town meeting, and Tim had asked me if I would do, explain the standard allowance. So, I've tried to get educated. But this is what I was going to present at the town meeting, and I think it's big enough so that you can see it from, well, it's going to be here, so I was going to do it on here.
You
I'm
can,
just gonna run-
put it in presentation mode, Martha. It'll be a little bigger.
Right. I can't, what I'm going to do is run through this with you and then send it to you, and if you think there's something I should change, just tell me to change. Because I don't want to waste time doing edits now. Let's just, because, whatever. Okay. So basically, this is just the explanation on standard allowance. It's probably a little too wordy, and I can probably get it down, and if anybody has a better way of I'll send it to you, tell me what to cut out, and I'm happy to do it. But I stole it from another town who tried to explain it at their town meeting. Then I went on to Ledge Light, and I just went through what Ledge Light requested and how it was approved and moved. And then I did go and I circled our number so that they would understand that other towns were giving more. And then I went on to George and explained, and I literally took the wording right off the town meeting of how to approve him, gave us some ideas of what he was going to do, and that's it. So I'll send that to you all, and you can let me know what you think. And I'm happy to change anything.
Martha, is the town meeting in person only, or will it be hybrid?
I believe, I don't know. I'm assuming I'm pretty sure it's in person only because you have to be able to talk. You know, vote. And someone did ask me about voting online. I don't think it will be. I can't. I've never had it on a person raised hand thing. Gotcha. Okay, that's it. Okay. Short and sweet.
It was short and sweet.
Old business. Old business, I sent you the update from the lawyer, which I thought was just confusing.
I hear you, because I always think I'm trying to play catch-up.
And
So
I
helpful.
didn't know what anyone else thought.
Well, I responded to you by saying my head was spinning, and I'll read it one more time.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I mean, I was reading it going, you have to read the whole thing. I think it needs at least another pass by me, because it seemed, at least in part, that he was supporting some of the decisions we made until the last line when he referred to another part of the document. And, so I would like to have another pass at it before I...
So we'll just move this to the next agenda, so everybody can give more time.
Is that...
Can we
As
have
long as
the
other
attorney
people feel the same.
talk to us? Can we actually call in so we can talk to them? For Carrie?
Would you like to arrange that for next week? Yes?
So would that be just Jack or both?
It would depend on who's available, I think. I could reach out to both of them today and ask if either someone could be present, if they were in town, or if that's what you would like.
Yeah.
And then what about the questions that he answered? I don't understand the question.
Yeah, there
There
was two of those that I completely didn't understand why he didn't understand the question. I didn't understand the non-understanding. But in general, I will say, I think when I read through this, my layman's reading of it, I would agree with what Bill said. I think that our understanding of the process and what we're doing generally on track with what the attorney has agreed on. We have these outstanding questions, as Cheryl mentioned, and I did, my takeaway, and I think everybody was interested in it, is I love the way he put it. It's not the answer is not a categorically no.
Yeah.
We all know what we're talking about. So, I don't think we're going to get any real...
That's as close as you're going to get with...
That's a true lawyer.
Yes.
It's a double negative, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll ask them to come. And I know that the other thing was about the proposed contract. I do not think that does not need to be seen by them.
Why is that?
Cribs' contract?
Yeah.
We asked for approval. Well, first of all, I have to go to town meeting before I can do anything. I sent it to them.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I have an answer from Jack that says it doesn't have to get their approval.
Okay.
But I will double check it again. Because Jack and I have been switching emails a lot, so.
And George's understanding of the process we have to go through to finally engage him, correct?
He is, although I know he did send us that draft.
Yeah, he's chomping at the bit.
Right.
Now, that's our contract with George.
Right. I will run that by Jack again.
Who signs that contract first? Is it Chair?
Selectman. Tim. First selectman signs one. I think that's right, because I think I have a question of whether the lawyers need to look at our application. Not so much contract, but wondering if there's anything, as we put into RFPs, there's a lot of legalese in our RFPs, and I'm not sure if there's something that needs to be put in our application to protect the town.
Okay.
Don't know.
Like a non-discrimination lawyer or something like that. Yeah, it's good to know.
Have you seen it in any others?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some of the applications are like 3 pages of terms and conditions that they got from their legal advisor, and some there's nothing. So I kind of believe somewhere in the middle is probably the safest, and we've never done this.
Wouldn't
the town is
the legalese come after the applicant is selected?
Not necessarily, but there's a contract that needs to be made. Yes,
Right.
that has definitely to go through toll and legal and everything, but, I mean, if you were an applicant and you didn't know all the full terms and conditions, or at least in general going in, you might feel surprised at the end, and I don't think that's fair. So perhaps there are some requirements up front that they need to see to make them determine whether they want to apply or not.
So I'm going to suggest that if you could send me one of the super duper contracts, a PDF of it.
One of the contracts.
I'm not the contract.
The application.
Application.
You've got it.
No, this is ours, right?
But I took a lot of junk from others for the
Okay.
preamble to throw in there for discussion and
Oh,
consideration.
this has additional information added to it?
Yep, and then the one I sent out to you guys about a month ago, or the questions, a while ago.
What are we looking at?
I was just thinking, do we send something from like a big city?
I thought it was the
And say,
contractor.
okay, here's ours. Oh, here's what a big city did.
Sure.
Here's what Chester did.
This is-
Sure.
Do
That's
we
what we're
need
talking
to go
about now?
here? Are we okay, or can it be basic?
Sure.
And just let them, because then that would give them a comparison of, because then they would not have to say, I don't understand the question. Because I would be saying, we just want to make sure we're being legal. So if you have one that you would suggest I look at.
I'll send them Greenwich, because that one we looked at or been passed out. That's a pretty big town where it looks like they've got a lot of terms and conditions.
I just need to clarify, what are we talking about right now?
In general, the application.
The community initiative, or both of them?
There should be some terms and conditions when people go to apply, regardless of what bucket they're going to.
Right.
That the town might need to have as sort of general cover CYA stuff.
Right.
And I don't know what that is.
But this is one of two applications.
Right.
This was
So
the
who
town-
wrote this, Mary Jo or Jen?
We have a little subcommittee.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
This is different than the-
I thought you were
than the
talking about
Georgia.
George's
That's initially
contract.
what it was.
No.
And what's the relationship between George's application and this one?
Well, if there is substantial boilerplate that needs to go into both agreements, George's would have to be amended to reflect that.
So at the last meeting, we agreed that there would be, that's okay, there would be an application for the revenue loss, which would have its own application, and then a second application for
Community
catch
initiative.
all other
Got it.
community initiatives.
So you might not have had loss, but you have a great program.
Got it.
Money for
Got it.
this, or, yeah.
We also said that it was possible for somebody to apply perhaps under both applications.
But not for the same funding.
Correct, not for the same need.
Right.
And so that language has to go into George. Sorry, I got
Would likely have to go into both. The applicant would need to know the parameters of what they were applying for.
We're not George's contract.
Yeah.
We're past that.
Okay, all right.
Application.
I mean, it is application. There's two separate applications.
Right.
Just any job application you have, or any application.
Right.
There's quite often some disclosures that are needed, which we've not talked about.
Okay. So what are we talking about now?
We're basically.
I don't know. I don't know either.
Well,
This was
it came up about the lawyer coming next week,
Uh-huh.
and that's why I added that. So I'd like to include that in the discussion with our lawyer.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So are we reviewing both applications today?
It's on our agenda.
It's on our agenda to continue development.
Okay.
We kind of, the March 21st town meeting, except to say that it would be great if everybody was there to support it and answer questions if there were any. Because I could
7:30?
think it's on March 21st.
Yeah, next to the stack of agendas, I had the call to meeting for the town meeting.
7:30 PM.
Martha, has the Board of Finance had any questions on what taking the standard allowance means? Or will they surprise us on Monday?
They, Tim mentioned it to the Board of Finance, not this week, but last week.
Were there any questions? Okay.
No.
So indications is that the town is going down that path.
It's the easiest
That'd be great.
reporting to go, but yeah, they were happy to move forward. And think they're very eager to get this application process stuff moving so that we can make some recommendations. And there are certainly projects that some groups have asked for funding for in budgets, and there's certainly things on it that perhaps this could qualify under ARPA. And we'll see what happens.
Kind of like a broad thing too, as we go forward, a lot of other towns that I've looked at have all of the applications online. You can see everything that's being requested by these different
Well, that's
agencies.
something we need to talk about, but I'm having a real trouble following this agenda right now. So what are we talking about right now? I'm really sorry.
So
We're just talking about the town meeting?
if you go down here, where would you like us to catch you up? How about saying that?
I'm
we're on
happy
number
to talk
4,
about
old
the
business.
applications, but
We're
I'm
on
not.
we're on old business.
Yeah?
And we're talking on the town meeting right now. I
Mhm.
think that we are done talking about the town meeting. Is that correct?
I'm good.
And as Martha said, that's a very important meeting for us and for
Right.
Yeah.
HRIC also.
And businesses.
So now I think we just started talking about the continued development of the application process, and I think that's why Jen
Okay.
brought that up. Okay.
You never know.
We're trying to move along, because we're just leaving at 12:30.
I agree. We need to have an online, I didn't want to delve into this if it wasn't the agenda, but yes, we need an online element to this. Not everyone has a printer.
Absolutely.
Not, yes,
You mean as far as the application?
yes.
So,
Yes,
I
we're
mean,
talking about the application.
I think that's preferred.
Yeah, I think.
So
Well, this is organized to be a printed out thing that he gets a hard copy. This is returned to town hall and
No,
mail
but it's
in.
returned electronically and he just prints it out.
So there's a couple of options. I mean, some of the towns that we looked at, it's a form, embedded into the website, and you
Right.
click submit, and then somebody gets an email with the data. But we can also make it a fillable PDF,
Right.
right? And so then that way, a person can save it and email it that way, and not have to print anything out.
Yeah.
But we can certainly, I think, George talked about outreach efforts, so like, that if somebody doesn't have a printer, that we can mail them a copy, or they can come into the town hall, or any number of ways to get this to people.
Right.
And then as far as the town receiving it, I would say in person, by mail, or electronically. Give them 3 options, and it has to say received by.
Bye.
Yes.
Right, so because if you're
yes.
putting it in the postal mail,
Right.
we need to have it by this date.
And this has people's private financial
Yeah.
information, so it's not just drop it off at the reception desk and.
No, but
you
we
know,
have a
we have to have a
box,
yeah.
like put it in an envelope that's sealed. We deal with people's private information all day, every day at the town
Right.
hall.
Okay.
I'm not sure how I feel about having all applications online. I mean, any application, I guess, could be requested to be viewed by anybody in the, is that true?
Well, I mean, for example, I just went to Chester, Connecticut, and I saw their IT department ask for this, the fire department asked for that, East Lyme has all theirs, the police asked for this, Parks and Rec asked for that.
Just the government or the private organization?
That's a good question, I don't know.
Maybe they put the
We
government.
need it for
Maybe
the
they put the
application, I'm
government
not
on.
disputing that. I just don't know about us putting everybody's application up on the
Yeah,
website. I mean,
yeah.
I think this grant, the community initiative, should go online. I do not think the economic recovery one should go online.
Yeah, there's a difference there.
There is a
Yeah.
difference.
Mm-hmm.
And,
And it might not have to be the entire application. It could be
Right,
a summary,
a
just the
portion.
name of the organization, the project, and the amount requested. Like
Right, and
that.
how it's going to address the
Yeah.
issue.
I-
Yeah, we can pull out.
If need be, yeah.
Well, are we doing this to keep, I'm, in my head, I'm thinking, the application process should be online, mailed, or however they want to give choices. It arrives here at the town hall. We, the committee, you'll get a copy of it either electronically or physically. And when we're done with it, the economic one, all the data that needs to go up with the economic recovery one is, we've received 500 applications, and we've done this amount of money.
East Windsor had every single application online.
Yes.
Economic recovery?
Yeah,
And the amount that they were given.
because they were businesses.
Right.
There were businesses in the town.
amount given is different than, somebody's application.
Somebody's personal.
Has their finance,
It doesn't have the personal information, but it has the name of the company.
Well,
It has,
I think, okay, if that's all it had, I
That's
think
fine.
that's public.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't-
it's a list more than the actual.
Right, they didn't have the application, but they had a list
I'm
of
pretty sure they, I'll
expenditures.
look, I'm pretty
Well,
sure they had the application.
I don't think that's,
I don't think it was.
That's not what we want to do.
recovery. I think it was for their other applications that they went to after that.
Yeah, because this has like tax ID number on it, I mean, we
Yeah.
definitely.
No, of course, we're not gonna put that on, no.
I think if you're talking just more broadly as far as Jane Smith applied for business recovery loss under the name of, Jane's Pizza Shop, and she received $8,000, well,
Yeah,
that's
because
public record stuff.
to me, it's letting people know, like, people have been coming to this committee, you could read the minutes, I guess, and find out what the requests have been, but
right.
to show what, we have $2 million and we have
Yeah.
been requested $10 million in projects, so.
Right.
Or transparency.
That's fair.
Or transparent.
But
Transparency as well.
I think that's fair. I think
Yeah.
that, to Rick's point, giving out your federal ID number and all of that
Oh, of course
information,
not.
it needs to be
Yeah.
vetted at some level. And giving out people's personal financial information should be vetted as well.
Yeah, I think name, request amount, approvable is, perhaps about as deep as we need to go.
Yeah, plenty.
And then they know who got it, and what the amount that they got, and they know where our $2.1 million is being spent.
Certainly
I think
brings it home.
Yeah, I think that's all.
When you see your neighbor applied for something, and you
Right.
had no idea.
Right.
Maybe they needed something.
Right.
We should probably have on the application then, if you are approved, the amount will be posted.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it is a very good point.
Right,
Why everything is.
yeah. Right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think that there may be more to it than just that, Cheryl. The town may, post your information and whatever else the lawyers tell us we have to do.
There's some suggested verbiage from another town in the one that
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
basically says this document is the town's.
Right.
It's, and it doesn't really say exactly at this point what we're going to do with it, but it basically says this belongs to the town, like any RFP.
That's correct. Once
So-
the document is submitted.
Yeah.
Is this the one I missed it?
Nope.
Okay,
Remember,
okay.
last week's agenda item was for.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So-
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I know exactly what it is. I just.
Yeah.
Mary
No.
Jo and Jen have been really busy.
It's a handsome-looking document. I like this layout, and perhaps the economic recovery one we could put it into this sort of formatting.
Oh, yeah, this I think is as entitled as Guts and Guts, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's my
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the final.
Not the final document, just pieces parts. Make sure that.
Okay, yeah.
Let's go and get in.
I have a couple questions if we're gonna jump in.
All right, which
Which one are we talking about?
Well, I haven't,
Community
the
initiative.
community initiatives one is the one I,
Okay.
Let's start there.
so, one question I have is, on the proposal requirements is, item number 4, which says the applicant organization must have a bricks and mortar physical presence in town of Old Lyme. So that would preclude, like, Child and Family Agency that's located in New London to pitch an idea for, providing services to Old Lyme residents.
Let me just say that this preamble stuff is all taken from different applications. To put there so that we would look at it and we would comment. We need to make this up.
All right, okay.
But if we're going to be a business, and some of this I think may apply to Georgia's stuff too.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're a business and we're presenting funds for a business in Old Lyme, it seems to follow that you would have some kind of presence. It doesn't have to be brick and mortar,
Okay.
but an office, a presence.
Well, think
So
about it.
that's-
Address?
Maybe,
Your
but
home.
I also think, because we are such a small town, and outside entities are providing services to our residents,
Flood Light's the perfect example, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, I guess they have a staff member who has a desk at town hall, so there is, but,
Their department.
Well, the
so,
elected department.
but, like, in that vein, and I think that possibly we could encourage collaborations, or maybe that, that I think that I know a group of nonprofits may be applying for one particular project. We want to make clear that there needs to be a lead agency that's the fiduciary agent, you know.
There's some talk of that.
Okay.
So if there's a way, a perfect example, a way to pull those together.
Right.
And make sense of all those
You may see several collaborations, even with organizations all in town, that
Right.
be one lead agency
Right.
that's responsible for the reporting.
Right.
Another question I have is on,
Well, to that though, Mary,
Yes.
could I suggest an edit of the applicant must have a demonstrable presence in Old Lyme?
yeah, rather than physical presence and mortar. Yeah, okay.
I was thinking.
Because an agency like Child and Family has data of how many Lime and Old Lyme residents they serve, you know, at
The Meals
their.
on Wheels program
Yeah.
is the same way.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so.
So can we also take out primarily, because Child and Family doesn't primarily serve Lyme?
No, but we can.
I like demonstrable.
Wordsmith that.
I think.
Yeah.
It's an
They
important
must
point.
demonstrate,
It's an important
I
point.
just wrote off the top of my head,
Yeah.
demonstrate that they provide goods and/or services to the town of Old Lyme.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you can do / or an office within the town.
Another question I have is on page 4. Why, I've never submitted a grant application that asks for a DUNS number or that I have an account in .gov.
Thank you for asking that question. It's in a lot of these, and that's where a part of me feels, and
What is it, Don's number?
Dun and Bradstreet.
Oh, really?
what do we need in order
Yeah,
to
does the town need
this
that
stuff?
thing?
And does it need to be in the application, or what? Greenwich has it in their application.
The town has its own number in order to give the feds and the state to process grants
and stuff.
coming in through AC
Sure.
and all of that.
So,
By DUNS numbers and other financial things. but
Yeah.
I don't think-
James Pizza Shop's not gonna have it
Yeah,
done for
no.
that, and they're not gonna wanna look.
right.
They're gonna have,
For bonding and stuff.
I can see why you want their tax ID number and.
So if it's not applicable, we don't need it.
I don't think it's applicable. I mean, there is one large federal grant that I do receive that I do need this information. It's a large federal grant.
Or you can make it optional, but
Everything, and you.
Yeah, I think it's gonna keep people.
If we don't need it, we don't need it. If we need it, if it's not applicable to a particular person, but it might be helpful, then we'll leave it and put if applicable.
I think certainly on this is just my opinion, and we may ask the attorney this question. Since we put a ceiling on the $10,000 economic recovery one, I don't believe it would be required for that.
But some of the community initiative grants may be larger than.
So, yeah, but
But
I'm
I
saying,
still don't think you need that information, but,
but I think it's a salient question to ask the
Yeah.
the attorney
Moving.
here.
so,
staying on that page for a minute, Mary,
yes,
moving down one, Habitat nonprofit.
that's not
Tax
required.
exempt
Just
status?
yes or no.
Do we want to word it that way, or?
I would word it, all nonprofits must attach a
Yes.
copy of their, like, businesses are not nonprofits, but
And
all
that's what I was
nonprofits
going
must attach a copy of their IRS tax determination letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether they're 501c3 or.
Nonprofit.
Oh, nonprofit.
All nonprofits
Yeah.
must attach a copy of their IRS tax determination letter.
As opposed to saying tax status, just put that in.
Saying yes or no? No, I would just, that's a requirement.
yeah, most grants require.
And
Yeah.
as a business application coming in, they wouldn't know what to do with that fund.
No, so I wouldn't make it a yes or no question.
Oh,
Well, that's-
eliminate the no.
Just take it off.
That's why
attach
at
a copy of the
at the
letter.
beginning it says, again, we were putting a bunch of stuff there for us to think about. If you notice on the front, on the first page, it says, if your business complete, blah, section, blah, blah, blah. So I just left it blank.
Yeah.
So, some of this may not be applicable to, for example, the fire department.
Right. But what about the line right underneath it? If NAP, explain. What is NAP?
Not applicable.
Not applicable.
Oh,
Spell that out, or,
I don't know if you
And-
need that. I
So if you were a government, like if you were a member of the town of Old Lyme, like Jen's department was a town or something, it wouldn't be applicable to her. That's what.
but you're gonna check that off on page 3, how you're applying.
So that requirement for 501c3 status in IRS is only for the
For
nonprofit.
Correct.
No one else needs to. So I wouldn't make it a yes or no question. I would
Just-
just make it required.
Just
Yeah, just
attach
a
it.
statement.
Okay.
So then, my next question is, the proposal information has, basically 4 areas. What it doesn't have is requiring a budget and a budget narrative. which is something I have to do with every grant I
I
ever.
think it asks for that in the second proposed somewhere specific.
Very five.
What page are we on?
The very last page.
Definitely should have that if it.
I mean, it asks for what's the total budget, but it doesn't ask for
The breakdown.
the total cost.
This is details on funding.
Yeah.
Those 2 lines.
Yeah. I would just
It
say,
says total proposed cost and amount requested, attached detailed budget to support amount requested. I think that's, I don't know.
Oh, there we go.
Attached
On
details.
page 5.
Yeah.
It's on page 5, right underneath total proposed cost.
Oh, right here.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, I've found sometimes with grant applications that have supporting documents, it's helpful to have a checklist, 501c3 letter, budget, attachment, and narrative.
So
you
as
know.
a final page, I was going to add that.
Yeah,
Be sure you have.
Be sure you include.
required.
Well, I think that would require us to know what that is. If you look at the very last question, it says, please list any attachments and provide any other additional information.
Right.
I don't know what that would be, so that's what's sort of a catch-all.
No, right, but I do think that little line there about attached detailed itemized budget should be bigger, bolder,
Okay.
whatever.
Asterisk.
And that's all applicants. That's not just,
That's great.
Images, somebody may send it
I also like the idea of the checklist.
Looking at it from the municipal applications, being able to provide copies of the proposal or the...
Like the several we've heard from.
Or the, I'm sorry, the quote,
Yes,
the item.
yes.
So this gives you an opportunity to put in there what you've attached for the review of the committee.
So would you,
But we should set the floor.
so it says attached detailed itemized budget, but maybe we should also say attached quote.
Including quotes.
so another suggestion is
Quotes, budgets,
If they're-
whatever, et cetera.
if they're going to be a fillable PDF, which I definitely support,
Okay.
sometimes what instructions and grant applications have said is how to name your file, like the name of your agency and then all your attachments, which say Line 2 Service Bureau Attachment 2, Line 2 Service Bureau Attachment. So you can get all these attachments are all going to be in one email.
Can you send an example?
I just think it's helpful to
I'm
know
not that creative.
that it's the name of the business or whoever the applicant should be the first thing in the name of the file.
Okay.
Not ARPA application,
Yeah.
Right.
LYSB, 501c3.
ARPA application.
ARPA
I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be hard to track all these attachments.
Yep.
if you don't.
Yep.
I think that one of the things about a quote is that many times during COVID, people have quotes, but they're from November 21 or before, and it's something they want to do, but unfortunately, due to supply and demand, things, prices have changed drastically.
And they may not be able to get a quote within the time period.
Yeah, it seems like, I'm not sure why we need a quote.
Well, no, if they have an existing quote, it should be able to be updated very easily with today's prices.
Right, but
Like a quote for a stretcher.
like some of the people, like the little pizza place, will they have gotten a quote for their new floor, their new...
Well, that's for the revenue loss.
That's right.
It's about community initiative.
This is.
They can do whatever they want.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, the revenue loss one is kind of, here's what I lost.
Here's what
I attest to that.
Right.
They get
Got
whatever the
Here's my-
grant is.
Thank you,
And
thank
then-
you.
And then boom, they can do what they want. This is different if they're proposing a program.
she gets it.
We want to see, I believe.
Yeah.
We want to see,
know,
we give you this money, what are you going to do with it?
I think too, if I attach an old quote and it comes back higher.
Yeah.
You're going to make up the difference.
Yeah.
I have one last question on page 3, and that is the areas where you check off how you're applying. Essential worker premium pay. Is we anticipating that is going to be an application from an organization?
I took these from our meeting last week.
Okay.
Those were our buckets.
I know.
Gosh.
Question.
Because right, it could be, or could it be from an individual? That's what I'm wondering. And this application is really designed for a business, so.
Well, it's for everything else.
Well, my question is, shouldn't this also include individuals?
Individuals.
Unless we're going to have a third application.
Well, our notes last week stuck the individuals under George's bucket. I went back and looked at our sheet. So that's why I took it out.
The individuals?
I know.
Well, they can apply for economic loss.
Sure, they could apply they could have, yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah.
An individual?
Would their economic
I didn't
loss
realize an individual.
Yeah,
premium pay, is really the question.
Do we want to get in the business of assessing applications of various individuals? I do like the idea of like this, and give them X amount and they can figure it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to be prepared for that. I mean, that's a big question.
But I don't think that should be a checkbox itself. It's something that should qualify for under a nonprofit, a town goes on, this is what we want to do, but I don't think it should be a separate box.
And you can't do premium pay to volunteers. You can only do it to
Somebody who's
paid
actually.
individuals.
Oh, that's interesting.
How many,
And there's
what,
a dollar limit on
what
it also.
is there a definition of essential worker for this line item?
Look at that
In the
CCM toolkit.
Treasury, it broadly strokes over essential workers as individuals or person in the healthcare, emergency response, or other operations.
Essential businesses, like.
Big Y.
Big Y,
Okay, is
yeah.
that considered an essential worker?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you are,
yeah,
all government,
yeah.
other government employees.
And ARPA was definitely conceived and drafted so that an individual who could be close to losing their home, which it's probably too late now, but could apply.
Okay.
But
We better figure that out then.
I have
Yeah,
to
because
agree with
essential
you.
worker pay is one of the 4 primary categories of
Right,
ARPA.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was,
So we have to address it.
and it was specifically,
Bless you.
bless you, for, I believe it was specifically included for the little guy who stacks the cans of peas in the store, who works 12 hours overnight, 7 days a week to get stuff done.
Okay, so,
Towards the employer of the guy stacking,
Not the
Right, but I
not
mean,
not the P stacker himself.
I don't,
all right.
I don't think individuals.
Yeah, the P stacker himself, if they were losing,
Good.
they lost their house or
Okay, good.
utilities
But I don't
or had
think that we should
childcare,
put
They would come
but not
under
for the P stacker.
Right.
Right.
I would think that right together.
I have the
Excuse me, I'm
pictures.
sorry.
Bye, Rick.
Bye, Rick. Well, then that needs to be, we need to figure that out for instructions too, you know, if this is gonna be an individual, okay.
I think we take it off of this.
I think this has to come off here.
Mary Jo, are you looking for the pictures of those?
Yes,
I have them.
yeah. The one I was thinking of was assistance to families. It wasn't premium pay, but that we threw under Georgia's bucket, which is. I think you're right, I remember that.
Yeah, there somewhere.
I
But if
have
we
it.
don't have it in this application, and we don't have it in George's application, how do we address premium pay as one of the 4 primary categories of how ARPA funds can be used?
You could put it into that is a proposal that you could make, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a checkbox.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
let's say Big Y wanted to apply. Now, I don't
Gotcha.
necessarily say that you'd call them a small business, but if they wanted to apply, I suppose if their management wanted to apply to do premium pay, he could.
Right.
But that would, again, I'm not sure what quantifies as a small business. I don't think.
I mean, do we have to have
Well,
definitions for everything in here?
That essential worker premium pay is how you might choose to use the community
Right.
initiative. It's not the type of organization
Right.
you're approaching
That's why-
with.
The type of
Yeah,
project.
the type of project.
Shouldn't it be under small business?
It's a way that a small business could
Yeah.
choose
Right.
Could be a
Ask for a
nonprofit or.
project.
It's more of
To be
a
separate.
type of proposal.
It's a type of
It's not necessarily an application itself.
Yes, but it is one of the 4 main categories of ARPA.
It is,
It deserves, I think.
and we had it on our list, so.
So, and instead of are you applying as, how about are you applying for? Well, no. Application type?
You still have to be a small business.
Maybe could it
or a-
be, does your application
Oh, that's
include
great, Martha.
as essential worker? Include,
Essential worker premium pay.
But do we even need that up front? Because it will be in the application, won't it? Or not?
well, I'm just saying, it could do a little checkbox.
Make
and
it
then-
easier for us to
Yeah,
sort them.
that's good.
And you do have to kind of put a date in there. I mean, I know for like all the PPE, you have to say that for the employees that were working on blank date, because you'll have new employees who have come on since then. So, you know, you could have had a very short staff that got you through the COVID, and then since last summer, maybe you've hired more people on. So you do have to sort of set a date there.
Is there an official date, like the end of the state of emergency or the end of the?
State of emergency hasn't ended yet.
Well, I know on George's application, it says 3/3/21, something about 3/3/21.
So that's when.
That's 1 year after.
That's when your costs, you can accumulate costs begin March 3rd, 21.
So I did notice that on page 5 of the proposal, we asked, have you received other COVID-19 relief funding?
Right.
So I would imagine that some of these initiatives are new, and the answer would be no, yet the organization has received COVID relief funding. Do we want to know that, like the PPP loan? Because that might not be related to this application, but the organization has received it. Do we even care? I don't know.
Well, and that's a question, again, for somebody who knows this inside and out. Many of the towns have that you cannot receive COVID funding or ARPA funding for the same initiative.
Right.
So you can't apply it, and that was my attempt at
Budget
trying.
narrative should indicate other sources of funding for this project. Like the budget.
They could be getting a grant.
Not other sorts of funding. I would use other, I would narrow that down to the PPE stuff and funding during COVID, because there may be you may use a multiple source to fund your initiative.
That's okay, but I think we'd like to see what all sources of income are to fund the budget. Like in the budget narrative, we should ask for, please show.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Not your expenses, show all sources of income.
As you know, most grant budgets you have to show other income.
Show other income.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think there's a difference between a business or a nonprofit that received the PPP loan, and that money was really meant to help pay for payroll and utilities. That's it. So do we care that they got something a year ago or over a year ago in that regard? Because that wouldn't fund an initiative.
That's not even qualified under ARPA. It only starts March 3rd, 2021.
Okay.
There is a way to apply for funds in 2020.
I think it would
but
be
it's
interesting
long,
to know, though,
long, arduous.
It would be interesting to know, though, in the application, that the George application, if this business that's applying for economic recovery, did they receive the PPP loan?
We asked that. That should be asked in that application.
Okay.
So, Mary, what do you want on this one to say? You want that question changed? Or
No, I think that question is good.
Okay.
But I do think we should say, for the budget narrative,
okay.
please include all sources of income that fund this project. I don't care about income outside of the
Or in the budget itself as other income.
Yes. But detail it,
So can I just ask, what other, because I might not be seeing the big picture here, but what other COVID-19 relief funding could they have applied for this proposal?
Maybe the Rotary Club, they give out grants, the Community Foundation gives out grants.
2000
COVID.
Could be.
Yes. There's a whole COVID-19 fund at the Community Foundation that a lot of nonprofits apply for.
Here's an example of the Lions Club. They never had their annual fundraisers this year. So it was a loss of revenue and income for them.
She's asking what other grants would people apply for COVID funding besides the town?
Not much.
There are other
And
grants out
individuals.
there.
You're wondering if there are any, right?
Nonprofits.
Or any at all?
So, Mary,
There are other.
Okay.
And do we care about any outside of COVID? Like an arts organization could be applying for this plus a CT Humanities grant.
How about then, instead of have you received, could you say something like,
Are you planning?
are any of your other grants related to COVID-19 relief funding? Are any other grants in your budget
Have you applied for any other?
related to?
I don't think there's a difference.
Well, there is, because they could be applying for a grant that might be in their budget, but they haven't gotten it yet.
They're all track.
Yeah, but if you apply for something you don't have yet, why you list it? Because you might not get it.
Right.
I'll
Have you
I'll
received
put both
any?
versions in, and when we send it out to everyone to,
But I do think, like,
You
when
can
we have the
decide.
request for the budget narrative, we should be specific about what we want in the budget narrative.
Okay.
All expenses and all income related to this project.
I would use the word including all funding sources.
Yeah.
And just.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask if.
You don't care if I throw $10 in, but you care if there's 5 other places that they're getting money to put together with this request.
so if you guys get this, today is Wednesday, if you guys get like an updated thing by Friday, could everybody look at it over the busy weekend and get it back, say by Monday, so that we can send it ahead of time to Sushman and Shapiro to have a chance to look at before they, okay.
That would be
I'll do
great.
my best, but I have to read 33
Well-
applications for a principal's position at Line Consolidated.
If I get some, that would be better than none.
I'll do my best.
I have one other question. Arts and culture broken out. If someone's a nonprofit arts and culture, are they checking off the boxes?
Do you want to say, check all that apply?
Can you give me an example? I don't know what.
Flow Grizz is a 501c3.
Okay.
Lime Art Association.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Is there an
Lime
arts and
Historical
cultural
Society.
organization that isn't a nonprofit?
Cooley Gallery.
That's small business, right?
Yeah.
That's broken out from nonprofit.
I think the Academy is probably something other than a
How
5.
did we put it in our survey? Because last week
We
we
had
talked about
not-
keeping things
We
similar.
had nonprofits, and then under that, what kind of nonprofit are you? Are you arts and
So let's do that. Let's do it as
social
a
services?
Make it
Or
Make it
tourism?
sub nonprofit?
Yeah.
I think we're going to know what they are.
Yeah, do we even?
Right?
But why are we asking arts and cultural organization if?
Can't they just be, are there, is
Nonprofit.
there an arts and cultural organization that is not a nonprofit?
I asked her that, and she said Cooley Gallery.
Then it would be a small business, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it applies to small
I just don't, the Academy, that's the only one. I don't know if they're a nonprofit
I
or
would think
a,
That just
They
came
all-
up last night at the Board of Finance, and I
You
can't
know?
remember what it.
They're not a nonprofit?
I don't know.
I think it is.
Now that it's not affiliated.
Oh, that's right, now it's an academy, not a college.
Yeah. yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I think it would qualify.
Yeah, so they're all nonprofits.
I think the reason for having subcategories maybe under nonprofit, is, like you said, is to match our survey categories, that we're trying to address arts and tourism, we're trying to address these different areas of nonprofit.
Identify them one way?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I think so, instead of self-identifying.
And I think somewhere in, hopefully in this application, I know it's in the other application, is the request for more information. So I mean, if there's a question or concern that raises its ugly little head, then we can.
Oh, this thing says you may come in for an interview, or maybe
So we're gonna-
put under the lights, I don't know. So you pick what you want.
But that's, we may never use it, but it's nice to have that
Well,
option.
another question I have is, we have our 11 areas, and we had talked last week about having something in the application, like, which of the 11 areas does this application meet?
Yeah.
You know, so it could be multiple, but which of the 11 identified areas
And then
we're
bucket.
focused on?
Yeah.
And the only reason why I asked to include that is that might make it easier for us later to sort them, if we need to put them in buckets for
Yeah.
reporting.
Mental health.
Yeah.
You know, because rather than us doing it, have them tell us which ones they meet, you know, and we could have a page with all the 11.
So we put the 11 under those 4 buckets last week.
So what is that?
Yeah.
So maybe we take, someone sends, because although I have them here, obviously,
They're redoing the HVAC system.
that's what we put. We put the 4 buckets
Right, yeah.
and then put the sub-buckets under there.
Yeah.
The 11.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good idea.
I think we're going to need that.
And then I have a question maybe for Nicole. On here it says Town of Old Lyme departments. What about Town of Old Lyme committees, commissions? Like if Sustainable Old Lyme wanted to make a proposal for something,
Why don't
That
we
would
just
be
do
that,
it
or
live?
Parks and Rec.
That would
or
be Town of
something.
Line. I'm just
I think,
saying.
but it says department.
Take out the.
Well,
Okay.
I mean,
I would say department commission, spell it out. Or board /
but
commission.
some of these are committees, so that's why I think,
So just
They're
Town of
still-
Old
they're
Lyme.
Still acting
Just
on behalf
Town of Old
of the Town of
Lyme,
Old
yeah.
Lyme, I believe.
That's-
I think that we can get that, because
can
all
we
the
just
stuff-
put Town of Old Lyme then? Because the fire department is a department, but,
Yeah.
okay, we'll just keep it Town of Old.
Okay.
So then you've got town of Old Lyme, nonprofit, small business. I think that's good.
Simplify.
KISS. Do you remember what that means?
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Silly.
Sweetie.
Keep it simple, student.
All right, so you'll send it out, Mary Jo, and then we'll.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Yeah,
And
Thank you.
the team.
No, she did most
to Martha and Jen.
And I think there are already some questions generated, additional questions generated for the attorney's side.
And what about George's? Do we have feedback on George's for him?
I looked at it, and I have not spoken to George, other than via email, but I did have the three questions that I had was, the three that I saw and looking at it quickly was that, I actually have the email here somewhere.
You're talking about George's application now.
George's application, when he sent the application, that I thought it should have, because Dennis had a question with regard to how are nonprofits that are applying it, how are they going to be sort of sorted out? And after I read the application, it seemed to make sense to add an additional category called for non-applicable. You have to answer yes, no, or it doesn't apply to you. And that seemed to sort of help to sift all of that stuff out. The second question I had, and I'm trying to do this off the top of my head without looking at my little document, was there should be a line in there, he said, you may have to give me a second to actually look it up. But there should be, I had three questions. They were pretty straightforward. He did a pretty good job of, let me see if I printed it out. No, I did not. But I did send an email to the collective.
I just thought a lot of the questions could be worded a little.
I did clean up a little bit of.
Okay.
I did look at it, but there was. I actually thought he did a pretty good job of capturing everything and keeping it direct.
So please send. I mean, I'll put George on an email with all of you, and we'll just feed the information to him.
Just so, to our earlier point, we put aid to assistance to families in George's bucket. So when I first looked at that, I didn't look at it with that thought in mind. Mm-hmm. So you might want to run by the questions with that.
And I can only tell you that from my brief phone conversation, and when I say brief, it was under 4 minutes, with George, he was concerned that we're not capping the total amount. He said, I really think you should say, you're limiting this to 300,000 or 250. He said, and I said to him, well, we really would like to reach as many people as possible, so we don't really need you to go digging to find 10,000. If somebody's expenses were $4,900 and somebody else's was 51, we'd rather give out those two. And he said, well, then just cap it at 5. I said, no. I said, we're trying to reach as many people as possible, but I don't think we need to say that everybody's going to get 10,000. I think we can say we're going to cap it at no more than 10,000. But I said, George, it's a small town, and we have no idea how many applications will come in. Now, I said, maybe we'll only get 25 applications for this, and we'll say go for it. Get the 10 each. But
I was a similar process where there was a minimum, and I'm not necessarily advocating this model, but it was for Connecticut Humanities. Everybody who applied got a minimum, to your point, so you're more likely to give out all the money. Was there a discussion on that? Because I wasn't there last week, and I see you kept it at 10,000.
We didn't talk about a minimum.
Yeah, it's just another model.
We didn't talk about a minimum, and we didn't talk about a bucket amount.
I think also a lot of the businesses in town had big losses in 2020, not after March 21. I mean, they probably had some, but the big implementation of plexiglass and all of that happened in 2020.
Right, March
So
2020.
So
I know I was there.
I think people are going to be very confused because when they think pandemic, they're thinking 2020.
They're going to have a challenge to show that loss.
Because they've already adapted.
But
A lot of them had already adapted or.
But that's in the final act. So I think that needs to be strengthened in
We
all our
need
applications.
to really be clear with people.
Yeah.
And we need to, I think both applications need to include references, so people don't think it's just coming from the town, it's coming from the final act, because I think that's an issue. There is a way to apply for 2020 stuff, like I said, but it's
More convoluted.
formula, it's kind of tricky, because I think the thinking was that 2020, people applied for PPP loans and stuff, and that may not be the case for a lot of the small businesses.
Right. So getting back to where I started, now that I found the email, the first thing I had was at the bottom of page 1 as an applicant, estimate your loss as a result of COVID in dollars since 3/29/21.
That was for nonprofit, right?
For nonprofit.
Right, but there was no delineation of what caused it. Like, we normally do a Lions Club event, and we normally get 10,000 from that. We didn't hold it, so there's the 10,000.
And then I added the non-applicable category for some of the questions because they didn't seem to fit nonprofits. And then the other piece I thought about was you might add a line to attach supporting history or documentation to support the request.
Yeah.
That's how I got to that, was when you're all done going through, because I looked at it as a nonprofit and thought, how is the president of the Lions Club
Yeah.
going to apply for this application?
And do I have to answer the questions on page 2 and 3 if I'm
Right.
a nonprofit?
Right.
That wasn't
And that's why I
clear.
said you just
Yeah.
include a non-applicable and go by those.
Right.
And so that's how we got there. And then on the end, we talked about it with the community initiative one as well. You want all of the supporting documentation. Show me that we didn't have the car show for 2 years. Show me what that revenue was, and then at that point, do we meet the $10,000, if you will, or was it only really $6,200?
So at the bottom of page 1 is if the applicant's a nonprofit, estimate, the word please.
Yeah, please explain it, and then also, at the end, the supporting documentation piece needs to be,
I'm sorry if I missed it.
That's all right.
Did you respond to him where I was CC'd?
I sent Richard Stout plus 10, it says here.
Okay, all right.
To George?
And to George?
I don't know if this came from George, because I sent it to your attention. But I didn't have George's,
He's in the thread somewhere,
Okay.
because everything I forward to you from him has his email in it.
Okay, and I just hit reply all.
Decrypt at something.
Yeah. I did get his
All
email.
right, so do we want George? I'm thinking that next week's agenda, if you have the lawyer here for the first half, do you want George here to do fine tuning or on the phone to do fine tuning somewhere in the second half? I don't see any reason to have him sitting on the phone for an hour.
No.
I mean, do you want him here in person for the second half? Do you want him here at all? Do you want him on the phone?
I think he has to come in.
The phone to make sure you're looking at the same document, he crosses it out, to me, that's easier.
I think if we can have him here, I think my comments are not that dramatic.
No, but I think it is easier to work sometimes when someone's right here and you're going through it.
And we can talk style too about how we formatted and didn't format it.
You don't get assumptions, like, so you're not assuming Mark is sending that to the guy, you thought you were doing it.
Right.
Yeah, because you said, I want to be in touch with him, and I just assumed that by forwarding you his email that you'd know about it. But that's okay.
Good point.
We're good.
George is here next week. He's asked for 30 days after he sends the thing out. And then we have to look at the results, and we have to make our recommendations in May. So I think we ought to have in our mind George, here's the date this has to, this has to,
Deliverable.
Yes.
we're gonna limit the time.
Right.
Yeah. Could be April 1st, April 1st, April 30th.
From the town meeting.
Yeah, you also have an answer from the town meeting. We'll also have the lawyers will have
So
their
we're
questions
really,
in there.
the
yeah.
wheels will be going.
Yep, I think that's good.
So I got a little lost here. So has this contract been approved yet?
It has to get approved at the town meeting first, which is Monday.
How about among this group? Did this group have this last? No.
I don't think we have to approve it as a group.
Wait a minute.
No,
That's
okay.
It's George's contract.
I thought it was looking like the town meeting.
Sorry, it's George's contract.
Okay. We haven't,
So we don't have to discuss this?
we haven't approved it.
Okay.
I think basically that would probably be something to discuss while George is here.
Okay.
If there's any questions.
Okay.
I can send that off to Jack and say, do you see any issues with this? And ask him to look at it.
It would be helpful for me. I know the deliverables are somewhere in the narrative, but if we could have a separate schedule of deliverables, I think it would be easier to follow what the work products are and when he's going to complete them.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the first order of business would be a work plan, which he doesn't talk about the work plan, but that's after he's engaged.
And a timeline for all the deliverables.
Well, that would be in the work
Timeline,
plan. That would be,
yeah.
one of the, yeah.
And I have two questions. Are we going to have contracts with each of the grantees? And if so, we're going to need a template for what the contract is going to look like to protect the town.
I think it's an award.
Well,
But an
you can
award,
call it what you want.
I think it's an
There's
award
gotta
letter.
be-
award letter
I think it's an
would spell out
award
the
letter.
term.
Once it goes out,
Well, I think that needs to be decided what we're going to do, because
Right.
the
I agree
various
with you.
applications that we've looked at, they mostly call them contracts. So whatever we call it and whatever the requirements are for reporting structure has to be in whatever we are going to give the...
That's a really good point, because the community initiative grant could have a bullet in there that all funded projects will be required to submit a final report or an update report and have dates, a year later.
I think those are some of the deliverables I was talking about. Wouldn't George create the?
For it.
George, I
Yes.
forwarded you
Yeah.
a sample.
Yeah. I printed it out, yes.
George is still, and I think the committee was still, or was moving towards, you put in your application, you have $7,500 in your business. We evaluate that, we award you $7,500, you attest to the fact that that $7,500 is going to cover what it is you're going to do, and we're technically finished business at that point. They may spend it to put floor in, they may spend it to do something else, because they've already fixed that piece of business. They still suffered that loss. This amount that we give them sort of makes them whole. We're done at that point.
We
with
have to
that.
remember that this committee that's around this table will be dissolved.
Yes.
So who does that fall to?
Right.
Right.
Who does it fall to after June when we make our recommendation? We're not going to be here.
Well, part of our recommendation could be too for administrative
Yeah.
assistance.
Absolutely.
And continued administrative assistance
Support.
doesn't go away.
Right, right. But the community grant one, the community initiative is a little different animal
Right.
from the standpoint that if I have an initiative where I say I'm going to teach 3rd to 5th graders, how to learn remotely more effectively. And it's a program and I apply for it, but it's going to take me 18 months or 2 years to do it, but I need X amount of your dollars. And we say yes. I think it's perfectly fair to say, you need to follow up on that, show me that you in fact did that, and some sort of reporting test.
And that Nicole has the right to reach out to them at any point.
Yeah, and most
I
grant,
sent that email around, there's
Yep.
a training for me, with the Treasury on Monday, in which they're gonna open the portal up. So I can see, and they'll see, I'll be able to, I'm hoping I'll be able to then go in and see
Yep.
what the reporting requirements, as far as follow-up, what I have to get from them, that we're doing, recipient monitoring. So maybe I'll have more information about that.
Yeah,
And
both.
all this on the back end after all you guys have dissolved. If they don't know that I'll be following up on that,
Yeah.
now, a lot of,
And I would say most people that are going to apply are going to be like a life phase.
Right.
People apply all the time and they know what the deal is, they know what's required, and all of that. So I don't see that as a problem with most nonprofits.
No, I don't.
Child and family or small.
No, but I do think you want to do your due diligence. A lot of grants that I apply for have a form, a final report form.
Yeah.
It'd be very easy.
Narrative, and this is what we.
Yeah.
I think the community initiative one that should be part of the deal.
I threw that in there in the preamble, so look at that. I just took it from other towns. One said a quarterly report or something, but, think on that. Yeah. She's going to need it before April of every year. So, maybe you only want an annual report or something, but I threw that in there. You may want the funding to get one and done, or you may want it to be given out quarterly. I don't know the answer to that, but we need to know it before people can apply.
Well, we also should have in both the community initiative one and the economic development one, or the economic recovery one. There should be language, which I believe the economic recovery one has in it, that the town reserves the right, to
change,
to see what you actually did with that money. You didn't go out to the casino and spend it on chips, but you can do something with the economic recovery one. Basically, the town's liability is dramatically diminished once we are satisfied that they showed proof of loss, if you will, for lack of.
If an organization does not submit that final report, then they may never get funding from the town again.
Right.
On anything.
Right. There's that.
So.
But on the community initiative side, if it's an ongoing program, we have some right. We should have, your rights shouldn't be diminished by the fact that.
I think so too. I think we're going to be called to task if we're handing out money to somebody that probably is bankrupt.
Yep.
I don't know the answer to that, and I know we had that discussion briefly, but how can a town hand out federal dollars to someone that we know that can't deal with it?
Right.
Or under community initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's in there too. I mean, I don't know how we recover from some.
So we should frame some of these. We should frame some of these issues for the attorneys.
Yes.
But keep them. What made my hair hurt in reading this was we were more verbose than the attorneys, which doesn't happen all that often. We kind of need to, what I mean is there's a lot of language. We can be more direct and succinct with the effort of hoping to get a succinct answer.
I mean, we need to make it old line.
Yeah.
That's fair. But I mean, you go from Chester, which is like, hey, or no, Putnam, Connecticut. It's like, hey, here's just put your name here, and then they copied the whole appendix from the final rule and say, figure out what bucket this belongs to, put it on here, and we'll look at it. That's their application.
I'm going to be honest, most of the folks are going to read it like you read an end-user agreement on your cell phone.
Right.
Nicole, I think it would be helpful if you, I know you have no idea, but keep it in your head. What do you think you're going to need for help afterwards going forward so that we put that somewhere in our recommendation or that you fill that out?
Try and think backwards from the end.
Yeah.
Don't ask for something you can't, she's unable to follow up on, don't set her up to fail. You know what I mean? Not have what she needs for support to follow up on these initiatives.
I mean, the compliance document is out there. It's big. She's got quite a load. There's like
She'll be up and spit me out.
shows what she's going to need, even if she can't physically get into the portal yet, which I'm surprised, frankly. But there's a lot of stuff, even for an NEU, which we are considered. There's a lot of stuff.
It's not the entrance, so
It's
all the backup.
That's right.
All the things.
That's right.
Do I have everything? You know what I mean? It's just,
That's right.
being an auditor and not one thing like ask for, I'm thinking of my social project,
Yeah.
And Martha, I have his email address.
Okay.
In my gobbledygook somewhere. I will forward this to him so that he has this piece.
That's fine.
Do we need to give Martha or somebody who's going to stand up there in front of the public in a matter of days an estimate of...
Somebody should stand up there with me.
An estimate of... I think the first election should. But I think that you should have a schedule, an estimated schedule of when the applications are going to go out, about how long the review is going to be. Are we going to have a rubric is the committee going to have a responsible so that we're fair and equitable across the board? I think they're going to ask this to you guys on Monday, and so you guys should have some answers.
Well, I think instead of maybe, we can't really show them a rubric yet, we could just say, this is our intention going forward. Right. I mean,
Yeah, that's fair.
not just, you get too into the weeds, they'll be asking questions all night long. Maybe.
I have a question, because I didn't see it on any of the responses from the lawyer. So next week is just to say, approve taking a standard allowance. But there's nothing that we have still that's going to the town saying, this is how we're spending the money and we need approval to spend it with 2.1 for, based on how we decided to do it on the operating, right? We're still not there.
No.
But that's on somebody's radar, like Tim or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our recommendation will then go to Board of Selectmen. Board of Selectmen will then go to, tell Board of Finance. They will move it to town meeting, and then that'll be.
Okay, I just thought Jack Collins was
I thought so too.
how we could do that. We don't really have to put everybody individually is going to do it.
Not individually. It would be, let's say we did the economic, we're going to do 250 to economic recovery.
Right.
We're doing.
Well, we have to put dollar amounts, you think? Can't just say, we're going to spend the 2.1 per the final rule and per the opportunity.
We can do it whatever way we want, really,
probably.
is what Jack said. I mean, my understanding from Jack was, if that's what you're recommending, and the Board of Selectmen says that's great, and they're comfortable with it,
Okay.
they move it.
I didn't know that, so sorry.
And I'm just repeating what he said.
Didn't catch that.
He's been going.
But I kind of felt the same way as Nicole. It's kind of confusing because we're approving Ledge Light, which if we're approving the 2.1 to be used, why is Ledge Light pulled
Right,
out? I
yeah.
thought last week we were hoping,
Because we wanted to get their money quicker. We wanted to get their money quicker.
So that
We
they,
don't have to have them wait till we go through this application and review and recommendation.
that's the fact, well, I
And
don't.
also, yeah, because they responded to the public health emergency most immediately.
so that's going to be stated then. This falls outside that because of.
It's like, seems like an exception, right? Or,
It's the only one.
Yeah, and it's the
Plus
only
George's contract is on there.
Except for
Yeah, but that's
George's contract,
administration.
which is also.
That's administration, not executive.
Yeah, up to 20.
Grant.
up to 20, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, for future discussion, not today, I think we do need to talk about the rubric idea and the scoring and how they're scored, how they're evaluated, and who's going to be doing that since many of us at the table will be applying.
Right.
How is that going to happen?
I will send along Greenwich's, since that's going to be this bigger one that Martha wants for lawyers. They put out a pretty nice rubric.
Okay.
May not be what we want to say, but it's nice. They put it in green, yellow, and red, so that those of us can look quickly and go, okay, that's a green, that's a yellow, we may need some more information, that's a red, doesn't work. So they kind of did a really nice job.
Can we get people from out of town or ask other people
Well,
to sit
so
on?
I'm sitting on a panel that is reviewing Harvard applications.
Exactly.
And I've been given a score sheet, and certain scores are weighted certain ways, and then you get a final score. And we're divvied up into teams, and so I'm reviewing 10, another woman, and every team is reviewing 10 applications, and then we're having an all-day session where we discuss them and present to each other the 10 that I read. And then, I don't know what happens after that. I think that the staff takes it from there with but
It's like when you have
get objective readers. So
It's like when you do an interview panel and you bring in professionals from other fields.
we should think about that. It doesn't have to be people out of town, but
Right.
it should be people who don't have
It might have to be people from out of town.
vested interest. I don't know.
I kind of feel it needs to be someone that knows the process.
Yeah, you're going to get into, you're going to have to train and calibrate them so they're all on the same page.
Oh, totally.
I'll tell you what we did with one RFP from
Have to go to training?
for the federal one for the sidewalk. We
happens
broke our
when-
committee up into people that were not going to be allowed to read. They were separate, and actually the feds decided who could and who could not be involved in reviewing it from our committee. So the people that were going to be evaluating it didn't get anything ahead of time. We waited to the minute of their meeting, and they got everything on a thumb drive to review it. Those of us that read and kind of organized it were not allowed to be part of the point gathering part of it.
Well, but not everybody at this table is going to be submitting an application, so we may be able to have a few of us do it.
Well,
Or maybe we could MCCD, professionals.
Yourself from that might, where you might have.
break it into pods where if you're nonprofit, you don't read those, and maybe you read small business.
Right, you read yourself.
You don't get that packet.
Okay,
And
that's a
then,
good idea.
I mean,
Need to talk.
I think we're gonna have to,
All right, we'll get creative. All right, so that's for future discussion.
Remember too that we're a smaller town, you know, and I don't know, we don't know what we're gonna get for applications.
Yeah.
You know, so when we do that, I think that's a good idea, is to maybe, as you said, get creative and kind of, if you're gonna apply for a specific portion of it.
like Jen can't apply, read hers.
Okay.
Can't read his.
All right.
And maybe we pull in, you know, another town hall staffer who is, you know, if we have to. But again, I think if you keep it, like Mary said, 10, you know, let's not overwork anybody.
10's a lot, so
It is.
let's wait and see what we get. Okay. Just throwing that out there for future thought.
All right, so next week is
George
and the attorneys.
So
Hopefully finalize.
Finalize.
We're not done yet.
Each application.
Outreach.
Yeah.
Outreach.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying where we are now.
Okay.
I wasn't moving towards
Did
adjournment.
you want to do outreach for this?
When George says he wants 30 days, in the communication for the outreach, it would be a good idea to try to spread the responses so you don't get them all on the last day after 30 days.
You're going to get them all in the last.
Well, he could put a schedule in and say, you know how the college applications work for early ins? You know, you could do the same thing.
Early decision? Maybe, I think.
George,
I think
Points
four
early?
four weeks I
don't know.
continue to think is a very quick turnaround.
They all come in on honest day.
Do you
Human
specify when you make the request that you don't want that to happen, and so suggest they do it sooner rather than later?
I think you should.
Please don't wait.
Well, I mean, you
I
could
did
say,
something on ours.
Time is of the essence.
bonus.
Yeah, if they're-
Quick, but that's also assuming they're gonna see it on the first day.
Even-
They don't see it till the third week.
They're late.
They have
We
1
won't
week.
accept
Well,
late
that's exactly it. If they don't learn about it until the third week,
Or just-
then they have 1 week, and where's my bookkeeper? They're on vacation, and
I
Well,
don't know, I've never heard of a grant that does that, but
So what I would suggest, I mean, I would hope, I don't know, I'm sure we can, because I think we've done it before, but I think what we have to do is, if we have a very good idea next week when our applications will be coming, let's say they're coming in 2 weeks, then I think we need to put right on the front page of the old line that they're coming. They'll be out on blank dates, and we push to do whatever, and then we get our, I mean, I know you brought one, postcard or whatever, but I think then we start out with the postcard and say, follow up, here's the town website, follow up. It may not have the link to the application, but you tell them it's coming.
But I think that the idea of encouraging people to apply early, I don't even think it's necessary, because I feel like it's not really our problem. George's his deliverable is that he's going to have it done on this day, you know, and so, yeah, there's going to be a period of time that is dormant, basically, waiting for them to show up. He can start reviewing them as they come in, but he knows that the majority of them are going to come in the last few days.
That's what he said.
Yeah, I don't
I've not submitted a grant on the last day.
What?
I've never not submitted a grant on the last day.
I agree with you.
there's our exemplar.
Yeah,
I read every minute.
I once submitted a grant with literally 2 minutes left. So,
We've all been there.
I have too. You're counting, doing that work.
I submitted my taxes early this year.
okay, good for you.
Mary,
Three words.
did you say that you saw a list of businesses that receive PPP loans from Old
Yes.
Line?
Mhm.
Yeah, so we can use that for our outreach, right? We already know.
that's cool.
Well,
You have to get their email address
be
or
careful what you
something.
wish for.
Or you will surely
So-
find it.
Really.
And we also have people who left their email address on the survey, so I have a
Yeah.
list of like 30 people.
And we have our spreadsheet that we've been maintaining, which isn't huge.
Are we thinking of doing a postcard?
I'm
everybody
thinking
in
of
town?
doing a postcard. Why not? I mean, time-wise.
Because it's only going to apply to
Can I just add one more thing?
10%.
The assistance to families discussion that came up, we were talking in our small group about how we put this on George's application or whatever, and we thought maybe we should have a discussion about whether we push people in that bucket, and I think I put some verbs in there, to social services and whatever fund you call that, as opposed to the ARPA funds. So think about that. At least we address that bucket, that category, then we take it out because it is so different. I think we
explained in the instruction because this process is not really for individuals.
Right.
I know.
So, yeah, individuals who need family assistance should contact social services.
Okay, so put that on your.
And I have to say that the link is still on the social services website, my website, about how to apply for those funds.
So somehow we need to put that into the outreach part of this, that, you are not excluded, but this is a separate.
Additional funding sources may be available through colon.
Yeah.
The following organizations.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that out. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's worth,
Yeah, because obviously this whole thing
keeping
is
in the
to help folks, and
conversation.
maybe this isn't their style.
Well, and my thought in doing a postcard is it ends up in every mailbox, and it's not Old Lyme residents, business owners, and organization leaders. It's, do you know a business or nonprofit needing economic recovery? That's not the exact wording, but, if Cheryl Poirier gets it in her home mailbox, I might know a business in town that I want to be sure applies for this. So it's not necessarily for myself as a household, but it's getting the word out to everyone in town that there's this grant opportunity, recovery fund. And I think we have to just make it really big and bold. This is from March 2021. Because I really don't think anyone's going to be thinking that way.
Maybe you say it's not 2020. This is not 2020.
Per the federal government.
Do you, in looking at these other applications, did you learn anything about their outreach? With Greenwich, or how did East Windsor, how did they get there?
The thing I focused on is their website, so I don't know about
because that's over.
other.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the websites are phenomenal that people have set up for people to get access to this stuff. Yeah. So I really focus on other outreach.
So do we do a postcard, a flyer to hang up around town, a press release to Lyme Times, and The Day? A letter to the editor can go to CT Examiner.
But Martha was suggesting, sorry to put words in your mouth, Martha, hoofing it door to door.
Yep. I think
to the businesses that we know of. Everyone, like we did with the flyer.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say, this is just from my view. I understand, I like the postcard idea or the website and all that stuff, but we're talking about adults who are running a business. And if they're not reading the paper or reading online or something like that, then should they really be getting money? You know what I mean? If you're not up to date, at some point they've got to take responsibility. We can't take responsibility for everyone, and do you know what I mean? I just feel like we can do the best we can.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
that's it. And if you don't meet the deadline, you didn't get it submitted, then well, then you're out.
So
yeah, that's a fair point.
And it's fair to the rest of the world.
I think, there is a list of businesses in towns too, isn't there?
Well, that's right, we were going to ask Melinda.
Really?
But there's home businesses, right?
Yeah.
People who report on Schedule C.
Okay.
So I think the postcard idea is good.
Yeah, but I don't think it has to go to every resident. If we did have a list of businesses and nonprofits, wouldn't have to go.
I'll check with assessor.
Doing online. Well, do I even qualify? I'm Susie, and I have an online, I don't know what business, T-shirt business. And
I was going to say psychic.
Why didn't you guess that, Cheryl?
What's that, Nicole?
Yeah.
I have an online business, I sell t-shirts, and
Yep.
I couldn't get any material.
Right.
Okay, so that's a small business, right?
I would.
Okay, and I think it should go to every mailbox.
You might not know about, no one knows any of that.
So I think that's fair.
I like every mailbox. I've already run into people who said, oh, I didn't get that survey.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
But they got a postcard.
Question becomes financial. How much money does this committee have? I think about time with Jack, he's billing, and how much that's gonna cost.
Would that cost 500? How much?
I think 1,600, what we spent last time on it.
Including the postage?
Yeah.
But does that include the Survey Monkey?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
1,600 for the mailing.
It was under 2,000 with everything, including the survey.
Right.
Like 1,800 maybe.
I think for the funding, like everything else that committee has spent on anything, I put to, places where I think I can do it, right? So we've got a townwide communication line under board select, or select.
Okay.
I put it under that because really I'm not authorized to post anything to that ARPA fund and take money away.
Right, till it's
Coming out of
approved.
something else.
So we could reimburse from ARPA, though administratively, like that.
Not to ignore, but let's just.
Yeah, I know.
I
But
think-
I'm saying,
I think that the postcard is just going to be actually the easiest way to do it. Like,
I do too.
Let's just do, we know how to do it, we've done it.
And it's so cute.
Fast.
You did such a nice job with that. It really is eye-catching. Yeah.
And then the press releases, because, well, the banner would cost like $1,000.
Oh.
I don't even know if you can get the
No, you can't get
banner.
the banner.
Is it reserved every?
It's reserved.
Santa's booked out like 3 years, but that was
Bump somebody. You need to bump.
But also you could
Bump
do,
the church.
I got bumped on Midsummer Festival.
you did,
Yeah.
but Cheryl, you did
Well, when I
also
moved
posting to
to Gardner.
Facebook, right? You
What's
posted
that?
to like 5 different Facebook.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of word of mouth spreads that way.
Yeah.
Especially with the people of Old Lyme and the other
Telephone, telegraph, or whatever.
Okay.
passenger pigeons.
Dave, what about you? How are you going to share this with the fire department and ambulance and the police?
Basically, it's just once we finalize the application process, sitting down and just putting it all in. I've already got their narratives. I've already got everything that how it fits into the program.
Are they applying through their department or through their 501c3? That's the case.
Through the department.
Okay.
But they get a postcard too.
Yeah.
We got a postcard.
So then we kind of need a potential timeline. When does the application open? I know we can't nail that down today, but what is our goal for the date the application opens so that the press release can go out the day before or whatever?
Yep.
So what are we hoping for?
Don't we need that from George?
Okay.
I mean, that was why I think Martha said 2 weeks. If we can nail the applications down next week and at least leave the attorneys with questions, in range that can be answered. Sorry.
April 4th to the 29th is the whole month of April except for Friday the 1st. So I think that's a good target. He wants 30 days. But that means we won't have visibility on what's been applied for till the first week of May. And when do we have to go to the Board of Selectmen with our recommendation?
Oh,
It's May something, isn't it?
has to be
Is that set yet?
Isn't there a
first Monday in May.
Yeah, that's the referendum. Oh, no.
May 24th is the town meeting.
Yeah.
24th? Tuesday, okay.
So it would be nice if,
So we'd have 4 weeks from the end of the outreach effort to do all the analysis and get our recommendation in 4 weeks.
So April 4th is very soon. If we need to, I mean, I don't know if it's doable.
We're going to write up the report, and George has to do his, and either that or we can extend it, but I thought we had to have our recommendation in May to the Board of Selectmen.
That was self-imposed deadline, though. I mean, I'd like to keep to it, but we came up with that deadline, nobody else
Well,
did.
ours
It's
was
June,
June 30th, and then we heard, well, they're not meeting in June, we have to do it in May.
well, Board of
Can we
Selectmen
call a
meeting.
special meeting?
They can do special.
We can call special meetings. Special.
Well, we can
emergency.
decide what we want to do and tell them.
Town meeting already in the books now.
Whatever.
To me, if you
I think
you guys are going to need a special meeting just for this. Why would you want to put it on just a regular?
This is going to require a special meeting.
Yeah.
For some explanation. There will be questions. As much information that we can front load to Matt and Tim ahead of time.
Board finance?
So we have through May.
Okay.
We could probably, I know Dave talks to Tim, and I tell him things as well.
No, I think it should come from the committee.
I think that we probably, after next week, we should probably bring Tim in, not next week, but the week after, bring him in just for a little 15-minute, here's an update. And maybe give him a list with some bullets that this is what we're thinking.
Has he seen the list of the things that came to him that we put on the website? Does he know what those are?
Oh, yes, uh-huh.
He's seen
Yeah, because most of them,
with him?
yeah, I worked with him, and many of them came through to him before this committee was formed.
Okay.
But he might not have done the most recent ones, like the ones we talked about last week.
I did tell him that they were going to have to fill out applications.
Yeah.
And we'd be reaching out to them because we need more information.
So we have those both too.
Just can't.
The one that jumps out at me is our neighboring towns that work with the shoreline
Soup kitchen.
kitchen.
Yeah.
They put in
For the refrigerator.
refrigerator trucks. Yeah.
Want to put that on the agenda for the special meeting on Monday? No.
I don't think any of the people here have talked about it.
No.
I don't. It's just a letter we got, right?
So some people are proactively reaching out before the application is available.
As soon as they
They
need
have
help
been.
on Monday.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like that's something, and I could be wrong, something about they requested the truck, but due to supply chain issues,
Oh.
it's going to be a while anyway. I mean, it's not something that's just readily available. I could be wrong. It could have been something else. I thought I heard that. So, Cheryl, do you want to work on a postcard?
Yeah, I'll work on a postcard and a press release. What I want to be able to say in the postcard, or maybe on top of the application, the economic recovery one, something that I saw in another application, not for ARPA, for another reason. Here are the things you need ready to fill out your application. I don't know what it is, your tax return or, that sort of thing. So if someone can help me understand a short list of what kind of documents they need at the ready to fill this out offline.
I don't know. I think people have most of their stuff. 501c3 letter or...
I just think you leave it basic, like documentation, you will need certain documentation to complete applications.
Mm-hmm.
And you could just give a couple of quick ones. I mean, I don't think we need to go into that.
Yeah.
Again,
I'm thinking of very small businesses in town.
Why don't you ask George, what did you do in the other two towns?
Okay, all right, yeah,
okay.
thank you.
But even small businesses, they file taxes.
Right, they have to be
It's not
something.
like either they have an account that tells them, or they already know, they should know.
Yeah,
Once they get on the website, oh, I'm gonna need all this stuff, I gotta get it all together.
well, that's what it is. I want them to pull it together before they go into the
I know,
application.
but again, I go back to, these are adults that run.
Yeah, trying to run business,
They should know this stuff, I think, and I.
Yeah, and you open up the application and you see what you need. You have a month to fill out this application, so go get it,
Right, and if they wait till last minute and don't have it, well, then, yeah, I mean, I hate to say that sounds, but I mean.
No, I think that's bad.
You can't, it's hard to babysit people's process. I mean, if people really need help, they'll call or contact George or somebody else, but I don't know, I just don't want, that's just my opinion.
Okay.
You get into so much time-consuming stuff with that. I don't know.
How about a date for no applications will be accepted after this date?
Well, there'll be a deadline on
There's
that.
going to be a deadline,
I
yeah.
just don't know what it is yet. So.
Applications received after this date will not be considered. I mean, just,
Yeah, exactly.
whatever that date is.
And if we're going to have hand delivery,
Say that yet? Because we don't have the final answer.
I think the
Maybe next week we can
applications
set the
are the catapult,
timeline.
which drive the other dates. And George has already said what he needs for a window of time. But like Dennis said, we need to kind of know what that date is. Because what we do is we compress the time frame on the other end to spool the applications around and recommend them to the Board of Selectmen and get them done, so be careful what we do now, because it'll return on the other end, just let us know.
And we're gonna have to schedule time for the review group to meet, like,
4 groups.
first week in June, whatever it is. And, so back it up from that too.
Okay.
Love you guys, but I have to go to work.
You have this job that's cutting into your free time.
My other job.
Anybody got a
There's no
motion?
public
You
comment.
got a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There's no public,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstained? Meeting out at 1:37.
Thank you.
My chief.